Allah talked about a nation that came before us. They were given a book. Just like we are a nation, we've been given a book. They were given a book and they spent many centuries with their book. And today in 2021, when we're reading that, we're now a people that were given a book and it's been many centuries. Right? So we have some things in common with the people that were being talked about. They were given a book and they had a lot of centuries with it. We were given a book, we had a lot of centuries with it. Then Allah says what they did with their book is instead of using it or being empowered by it as a means of being united, they broke up and they fought each other and they killed each other. And they used their knowledge of the book as a means of declaring one supremacy over the other. You know, وَمَا تَفَرَّقُوا إِلَّا مِن بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَهُمُ الْعِلْمُ بَغْيًا بَيْنَهُم. They didn't fall into disagreements except even after, especially after knowledge came, just as a way of one-upping each other. So knowledge was a way of this group refuting that one, this one refuting that one. These guys are kafir, those guys are kafir, their blood is halal, their blood is halal. This is what they used to do. This is what they did. He talks about how he gave them clear mandates of what is permissible and what is not permissible. And they played with Allah's law. They wanted to find some way of, just give me some way where I don't have to obey it and still feel good about myself. But the formula Allah has for nations is different. The formula for individuals is something else. The formula in the Quran for nations is different. Allah says, وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ أَقَامُوا التَّوْرَاةَ وَالْإِنْجِيلَ لَأَكَلُوا مِنْ فَوْقِهِمْ وَمِنْ تَحْتِ أَرْجُلِهِمْ. Had they lived by the Torah and the Injil, had they established the Torah and the Injil, had they applied the book of Allah given to them, they would have eaten from above and from below. The rizq would have been flooded open. Allah's protections and His blessings would have flooded them. What is Allah saying? The reason they went into suffering is they abandoned the book of Allah. And what was the suffering? In stages, as Allah describes in Surah Al-Baqarah, before He tells us we are the balanced nation, they lost balance. First they fought each other. They fought each other enough that they became weak and pathetic. Now why do you think half of this surah is describing their failures? And then He says, we have thus made you a nation characterized by balance. That's because don't mess up like they did. Don't do what they did. Because وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا. You will not find a change in the way Allah does things. You will not. Allah's formula is the same. Allah's formula is the same. Allah has created a sunnah in the world. When you put a seed in the ground, and when you put water on it, you give it good soil, you allow it to have sun, a plant will grow. That's the sunnah of Allah. The soil did not grow the plant. The water did not grow the plant. The sun did not grow the plant. But if you follow that process, then the sunnah of Allah is He will allow the plant to grow. When you don't give it water, when you don't provide it proper seed, the plant will die. That is also the sunnah of Allah. This is how Allah does things in this world. That's the sunnah of growing a plant. But the sunnah of Allah of the rise and the fall and the strength and the weakness of believing nations is also there. And you and I can't possibly think we are an exception, and what happened to the people before us, that's not going to happen to us because we're special. Because we're special. What I'm saying in no way alleviates the tragedies of those that are suffering in the moment. And in no way does it condemn them that Allah is putting those people in trial because they became like these. Don't be ignorant in what I'm thinking, what I'm saying to you. We as an ummah, our behavior, our characterization, the way we act, the way we are, the way we look to ourselves. If you take a good look in the mirror, not just at yourself, as us as a people, and take a good look at what Allah criticized of the Israelites. What did He criticize about them that made them not be the chosen people? What did He criticize about them? It would be very difficult for you to take an honest look and me to take an honest look and not see the exact similarities. It would be very difficult. This is an extremely big challenge. So when He says, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا, what did He go on to say? لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ, so that you can be witnesses over all of humanity. This is what a nation of balance looks like. They don't play with Allah's book. They're characterized by justice. They're a unified people. They have an undying love for each other, not just when people are bleeding. Not just when people are bleeding, because that's hypocritical. That is hypocritical. Oh, our brothers are bleeding in Palestine. Oh yeah? Because when you're at a masjid, and you're from Bangladesh, and somebody else is from Malaysia, and somebody else is from China, and somebody else is from Senegal, and when somebody else is from Palestine, and somebody else is from Saudi, and somebody else is from Pakistan, and somebody else is from India, you're fighting over who the imam should be. Where's the love of the ummah then? Your nationalism doesn't come out in everything else? Your biases towards each other don't come out in anything else? But the moment the moment someone's in tragedy, all of a sudden we're one ummah? How are we one ummah in anything else? This, it's hard to hear. It's hard for me to say, because I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about me. When the Prophet ﷺ says that we are one body, that this is kajasa, this ummah is like one body, then me criticizing what the ummah is doing is me criticizing, it's like me criticizing my hand, or my arm, or my leg. It's still me. It's not someone else. It's not someone else's fault. So we need to first, this is an important realization, because as frustrating as this conversation is, you and I have to realize that this problem isn't some other people. It's not someone else. It's not their problem. If those Muslims became better, we would all be better. No, stop saying those and them and they. It's us. It's our problem. When there's a problem in your family, then you don't say, it's none of my business. That's their problem. That's my dad's problem. That's my brother's problem. No, it's your problem too. You live in the same household, bro. The same household. This ummah is one household. It's even more than one household. It's like one person. So I have to be concerned. If my hand is in pain, or if my hand is not doing, it's being paralyzed, it's not doing what it's supposed to do, then I'm not going to say, stupid hand, how could you do that? You know what? I wish you weren't even a part of me. And you start chopping it off. That's not how that works, is it? You'll do anything you can to fix your hand. You'll do anything you can to identify where's the pain coming from. What medication do I need to take? How do I fix this problem? This is and sometimes the problem may not be over, the solution may not be overnight. The solution may be a little bit more long term. The analogy that comes in my mind, the reason I remain silent, the analogy that comes in my mind is if a person is sick, they're sick, and there's chronological illness, the sickness that goes on for a long time, right? So they have a chronological illness, and they don't take care of it. They cough, they're getting weaker, but they're not taking any medication. They're just continuing to eat what they eat. They're practicing the way they practice, and their body's getting worse and worse and worse until one day it flares up and something in their body goes wrong and they have to end up in the hospital, right? Because now the pain is so extreme that the entire body is just paralyzed. And then they go to the hospital, they do some surgery, or they patch it up, or something they can do to minimize the pain, and the person goes back to the same sleep again, the same behavior again. You can't expect, and this is what we do, when flare-ups happen in this ummah, all of a sudden we act like we're one ummah, and these sentiments grow. But long-term, you cannot, in the immediate sense, I pray that Allah gives relief to the Muslims. I pray that Allah Azza wa Jal gives like some sense of sabr and of healing to those that have lost children. They've lost parents. When you think about somebody, bombings happening, or when I thought about those girls that were killed in Afghanistan, when I was just thinking about them, I'm a father, I have girls. How speechless would I be? Would I even be able to speak if that happened? And if I really truly feel that pain, then what am I supposed to do with it? There's supposed to be something we do, not just as an individual. We have to figure out how to restore our place as an ummah again. That has to happen. And it's not a shallow conversation. It's a serious conversation. Every one of the young men and women that are listening to me, whether you're listening online or you're here in front of me, if we don't realize that Allah did not put you and me on this earth and make us a Muslim just so we can eat halal food and give each other hugs on Eid and life will go on as normal, then we haven't realized what it means to be, it may be, you know what it means to be a Muslim individually, but you have no clue what it means to be part of an ummah.